I shifted the venue for the press conference because the issues I have to deal with today are mainly of a governmental nature. So I just thought that it's appropriate that I should address them here. The biggest issue in the news today and for the past several days has been the sanction by the Department of Treasury Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, on a number of individuals in Guyana. Since that statement was issued by the US government, the government of Guyana immediately responded by asking the May Thomas, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Labor, to proceed on leave. And we indicated to the US government that we'll be seeking information to aid local investigation and possibly prosecution or the collection of the evaded taxes. So we responded immediately, and I'll tell you what has happened since then. Because in some circles, and I see it reflected in the media, there is a view that the government is silent on this matter. But a government can't work like a social media commentator. It has to be deliberate, serious, and it has to work in a framework, particularly in this case where the action against the identified individuals will depend largely on the evidence that we had received from the United States of America. So let me make it very clear, since the opposition media has been very schizophrenic. One group of them are saying that we are protecting the Mohammeds, and another group has indicated that we are witch hunting the Mohammeds. So we are neither protecting the Mohammeds, nor are we witch hunting the Mohammeds. We have made it clear from the very beginning that people who break the law will face the consequences. And therefore, if the Mohammeds break the law, they will face the consequences. But they have, as Guyanese citizens, a right to due process too, like any other citizen. And therefore, we're not going to be engaged in all of these social media posts responding to them, because I believe there are some people who are hired guns to create confusion, and some are doing it for political purposes. We intend to fully investigate this matter. We intend to prosecute those who break the law. We will work in full partnership with the US government. We value that partnership. Since this government has taken office, we've strengthened our partnership in the defense sector, in the law enforcement sector, in the drug fighting, the narcotics fighting sector. Even now, this week, we have a visit from the United States, a senior official from the US, to talk about strengthening some of these bodies. So we have had a good track record on this issue. The AC is off. They should turn it on, yeah. Or else. Yes. Yeah, but just turn it on, yeah. Yeah, just leave it there for the time being until It gets gold. So I made it clear. We value the partnership between the United States with the government of Guyana and the United States of America. The issue of gold smuggling is not a new issue to Guyana. The Starbuck News, in their article, mentioned the risk assessment that was done for our compliance on the Money Laundering Act. And it rightfully identified gold smuggling as one of the key risks for money laundering. And in that article today, it mentioned a 2016 report that came to the government of Guyana identifying individuals who may have been taking gold into the United States of America illegally. And it said that this report was shared with the government at that time. We never saw that report. Up to today, I asked Mr. McKenzie, the PS of the Ministry of Natural Resources. He said he never saw the report, nor did Ms. Thompson from the Gold Board. But we know the report came. And why do we know that there was this report? Because in a Starbuck News story in 2016, January 6, 2016, Mr. Trotman had this to say, the Minister Trotman at that time. He said, I believe we're losing about 50 something to 60% of our production from smuggling. Trotman told reporters at a press conference today at the Carrera Lodge. He said, based on reports, it is assumed that approximately 15,000 ounces of gold is leaving Guyana per week. He said that the gold is going to Brazil, Suriname, and is being landed at the Miami International Airport and JFK Airport in the US, and even as far as Europe and the Middle East. If priced at $1,000 per ounce, now it's $2,000, it would mean around $3 billion would be leaving the country every week. This is Trotman speaking in 2016, January 2016. Trotman disclosed that a team from the US Federal Bureau of Investigation and Homeland Security visited last year, and that was in 2015, and briefed Minister of Public Security Kemraj Ramjatan and him, that's Trotman, on gold smuggling. The team also interacted with other agencies such as SOCU. According to the minister, the points of entry and exit as well as the quantities were garnered from the briefing given by the US team. So he is saying the US team told them in 2016 that 15,000 ounces of gold was leaving Guyana per week. Now, if you multiply 15,000 ounces of gold per week, you will come up to, in a year, by 52 weeks in the year, you will come up to 780,000 ounces per year. 780,000 ounces is 24.2 kilograms of gold, 24,260 kilograms of gold per year in that year. In 2016, 24,260 kilograms of gold, Trotman is saying, was smuggled out. Now, in this case, the US government said that there's 10,000 kilograms smuggled from 2019 to the current date, I think 2023, into the US. But you had twice as much smuggled, based on what Truckman is saying, per year, not over five years period, twice as much smuggled per year in 2016. So it is not a new issue. We never saw the individuals who were identified based on the Starbuck News story. They never got that. But we know for sure that the team came here and met with them, because this is what he said. And he said that they were given the quantities as to how much was exported. So this is not a new issue with us. It didn't happen just last year, etc. And it happened throughout the years. And this investigation that the United States did and sanctioned individuals based on the investigation started in 2019. It started in 2019. So all of those who are trying to make this a PPP issue and a political issue, then they need to just examine these facts. That we know that there have been gold smuggling going on for quite a while. And 6 months ago, we spoke of this at a press conference. I told you that we're starting to get deep into the issue. There's a team now that is identifying the people who are taking the gold out. That what you saw at the airport didn't happen by chance a few weeks ago. And we're getting around how the gold is going now, because nobody even thought that a chain going out, that, you know, a huge chain made from, that looks like silver, is actually gold. It's actually gold. And we heard that they're making it even into containers and taking biscuits out the containers. So when they're going out the country, it looks like a silver container you have, and it's going out. But it's fabricated as a container, you know, a bag or something like that, a metal container, and sprayed over. So this has been happening for quite a while. Now, when the Reuters article came out last year, the Reuters article said that the Mohammeds were being investigated for gold smuggling, money laundering, and drug trafficking. At that time, the president was asked, and we were asked, whether we are aware of this. And we said, no, we are not formally notified at that time that there was any investigation. There was no formal notification. From then, even to now, until the sanctions were done, there was no formal notification. We said, if there is a formal notification, we will act on it. But the US has to formally notify us that this is happening. Now, this investigation took place, and the law enforcement agencies in the United States collaborated. Obviously, they have information, and they instituted these sanctions. We are all aware of the sanctions and their implications for various parties. Now, immediately after the president spoke to the media at the launching of the new vessel that we acquired for the Guyana Defense Force, the Minister of Finance wrote the Secretary of the Treasury, Dr. Janet Yellen, and in his letter, I'm just going to read what it says here, 2 paragraphs. He mentioned the press release that was issued, because that's all we had to go by, the press release too, like everyone else. The said press release refers to, inter alia, falsification of import and export documents, evasion of taxes, and bribery of customs and government officials to facilitate illicit gold shipments and award of government contracts. In order to facilitate our own investigation of the matters raised therein and related thereto, we would be grateful if relevant information and documentation could be shared with us on the officials and transactions involved. So we want to know who the officials are, the government officials. We have asked the U.S. government at the top level, the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States of America. We wrote directly to her asking for all of the information about these illegal transactions, the smuggling, as well as all the government officials involved. In this regard, the Guyana Revenue Authority has already submitted on that very day, so this letter went off on Tuesday from the Minister of Finance to the Secretary of the Treasury of the U.S., and simultaneously a letter went from GRA to the IRS, to the leadership of the IRS, a multi-page letter outlining all of the information that we'd like to have on bank accounts, transactions, a whole range of issues dating back not just to 2020, but all the way to 2015. And we also indicated by when we would need this information, because there is a statute of limitation in Guyana too for some issues, particularly some types of crime. And so the GRA said we need this information before the 31st of December of this year, because sometimes we know how long these agencies take to respond to requests from third countries. So the IRS has been written to by the GRA, Mr. Stacia, and the Secretary of the Treasury of the U.S. has been written to by the Minister of Finance. By the way, Mr. Stacia, who was at GRA throughout in the 2015 to 2020 period too, he was there, and now he's still there as head of GRA. We asked whether he had received from the U.S. government any specific information about gold smuggling and names of people involved. The answer was no. He's never received that too there. He did not get that report. So I just want to continue in this regard. The Guyana Revenue Authority has already submitted the attached request for information to the Internal Revenue Service in accordance with the Tax Information Exchange Agreement between our two countries. Any additional relevant details beyond the scope of the said request would also be much appreciated. So we now have taken the step that we want to see the information about any government official who may be corrupt, regardless of which agencies they're in, and we would like to get the information about the goal. Because if this goal has been entering since 2019 and declared here in the United States of America, and it's about 10,000 kilograms, they said, was this seized? And if it was seized, why were we not notified in the last 5 years when they were seizing this? Or is this information that they got from third parties? We'd like to find out more so we can reconcile this. Now, since last year, we've asked our team here, led by the PS of Natural Resources, Mr. McKenzie and Ms. Thompson from the Gold Board, to look at UN data, trade data. So we see some discrepancies there, and they produce a report. But We can't use the UN report because they have maybe some gaps there. We're going directly to the United States. We'd like to get information as to how this gold, whether it was seized in the US, what information they have on it, to whom it was sold, who carried it